All right. Hey, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Renee the Attorney Panical.
And Psychic Tom Paget with this crystal ball ready to go.
And this week we've got a lot to talk about. We were just kind of getting ahead of ourselves, talking about Marlen Esparza losing her belts on the scale. And also before the show, we were discussing a little bit about Ryan Garcia getting busted for some preliminary tests that showed he took Ostarine. I had also read something else about Nandrolone.
Well, personally, we'll do Marlen Esparza first because we were just talking that. You know, you're seeing a lot anymore where fighters lose belts on the scale. Like, that was hell rare back in the day. Like, these guys would do anything they could to make weight, you know. I remember even Hector Camacho saying I took some suppositories, I'm going to get hemorrhoids. Now guys are like, oh, fuck it, I'll give up the belt because there's so many of them, I'll just get another one. You know, like, you drain yourself. Like, anytime you're like draining yourself to make weight, you're draining electrolytes out of your body, you're draining vitamins, nutrients. You don't have your natural strength. Now, we were just talking about certain guys, like we talked about James Toney. James Toney at middleweight was a very good fighter, but he had trouble making weight, and he looked progressively worse. The fight with Reggie Johnson, the fight with Dave Tiberi, which it was a totally unjust decision that he got. Moves up to super middleweight, and he looks unbeatable. Next thing you know, by the time he fought Roy Jones, he was bloating up 15, 20 pounds after the weigh-in, and he looked like, he was in cement. He looked so slow and so weak, so drained. Then we talked about a guy like Roberto Duran. Duran, how great could he have been if he didn't have to cut weight every time? Because that No Mas fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, there was rumors that like as soon as he made the weight, he guzzled 2 gallons of orange juice and ate a huge steak. And then that really, really affected his stomach. That's why he was having cramps the night of the fight.
Right. So the other thing he tested positive for was something also with Ostarine in it. 19-norandrosterone. That result was described as unconfirmed. I don't really know how much of a performance enhancer that is, but he's already blaming a tainted supplement, potentially. So I don't know how long that takes to confirm or, figure out. But if it is, that's very concerning for the supplement maker. If they have mislabeled something, or if they can't figure out how to read labels over there at the Garcia camp. That's probably going to throw the whole thing into further controversy, if there wasn't enough already. The other thing is what happens to the bets. I'm not sure how that works. I don't think they can take their winnings back.
If the fight becomes a no contest, that means the fight didn't exist, that we should get our money back.
Right.
And then for people that bought food, for parties. I mean, can we uneat the food?
Right.
And get our money back?
Hey, people sued over the Pacquiao fight. Remember that? They didn't win, but they sued.
You know what?
And so that's been around in the news. Obviously, Devin Haney is outraged. And it was kind of funny because I read an article today, not really funny, but funny as in like weird, because his father had developed all kinds of animosity against him for saying that his son was going to kill Garcia in the ring. And so Devin Haney comes out today and he's like, people die in boxing. Should not be cheating. And so yeah, that was a little bit too little.
Well, I'll tell you. You knew who ripped into Bill Haney for that statement was Iceman John Scully.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because Iceman, I think the picture he showed might have been the Mancini Duke Kim fight, and then about Kim's mother committing suicide, the referee committing suicide, and he goes, and this is what you want?
Jesus.
By the way, do you know, speaking of Manny Pacquiao, today was 9 years ago that it was the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight.
Oh, no shit.
Because, me being me, I make light of everything. And I said, first of all, they did something on there, and I said, wait a minute. I think they wish somebody a happy birthday. Isn't that bullshit? I said, why are they not wishing my father a happy birthday along with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Both May 2nders.
May the 4th be with you.
I said something.
Coming up. It's the UFC day.
I said something. What did I say? I said something about it was a fight between a Filipino and an American in America. Why'd they have to sing the Mexican national anthem? I know it's because it was Cinco de Mayo weekend. I said, I don't care. I said, what are they going to do next? Bring Nikolai Volkov out to sing the Russian national anthem?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have an interesting MMA story, too, that you're going to like. The guy in the main event this week for the UFC fight is a huge Rocky movie fan. He was actually wearing a Rocky versus Apollo Creed shirt during the UFC Embedded. And if you didn't like him already for that reason, Tony, he's a very big dog guy. His dog is starring in the whole UFC Embedded series as well.
I mean, how can you not be a dog guy?
Right. So, we'll talk about that later. Our other story, BKFC is starting to generate some buzz, and might just piss off Dana White a little bit when he finds out who one of their latest investors is, none other than Conor McGregor. Former UFC fighter Mike Perry just got a big knockout win at their latest event. And Conor McGregor was announced as a new part owner of the whole promotion. This is the one that our former guest does the announcing for, commentary. Actually, two of our former guests, right? So we did Chris Lytle years ago.
That'd be a long time ago.
Before Wheelock. Back when he was just retiring, I think, or working as a fireman while he was fighting, I think. Last years of his career. Anyway, David Feldman, also a former guest of ours. President of BKFC, is really on board with Conor being part of it. He says you've got the guy who has the most viewed movie in Amazon history, right? I mean, it wasn't because of his acting. Not that he was bad at acting, but it wasn't because of his acting. It was because it was Conor McGregor. It wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal that drove those views. It was Conor McGregor that drove those views. He's one of the most popular guys in the entire world. He's one of the most popular and influential combat sports fighters of all time, or personalities of all time. I mean, you tell me. You get a guy like that, anything he touches turns to gold. So, obviously that's their theory. And Conor was not only there at the fights, but he was slamming whiskey. His own whiskey, I'm sure. So, yeah, they first got involved with him through Forged Irish Stout, Conor's other thing, after he did the Proper 12 whiskey that he got involved in. So anyway, yeah, and I'm sure you guys have also seen the posters of Popeye the Sailor Man that Conor's getting tied to, the next project for a movie. He's going to be Popeye. That's kind of funny. He kind of looks like he fit the bill. He's going to have to do some forearm work, though. You know, Popeye had some pretty big ass forearms. I'm sure they're going to have to put prosthetics on. But anyway, it might piss Dana White off a little bit to find out that Conor's invested in a little bit of a competing interest. But it is what it is. All right. So anyway, the whole weight situation at that whole card was affected by weight issues.
You hear that?
Marlen Esparza
Now, what is
lost her titles on the scale this weekend, and there was also weight issues with Carlos Ramirez and Bartholomew. They both had a catch weight situation. Virgil Ortiz Jr., I think there was something going on there as well, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we had 2 knockouts and 2 decisions. Jose Carlos Ramirez in Fresno. Unanimous decision to Frances Bartholomew. The guy's seen fight a couple times. Just couldn't step up a class there. Get it done. So Rances is 30-2 now with 1 draw. And then Virgil Ortiz Jr. stayed undefeated with a first-round knockout of Thomas Dulorme.
That fight I missed. I was just getting home from my friend's house, and I'm like, "What do you mean it's over?" I'm like, "Yeah, 1 round, body shot."
Middleweight.
But I figured that was a good fight for Ortiz. He'd been inactive for a while. He had that medical issue.
Where'd you go, Tony?
And then Dulorme, he had the loss to Bud Crawford a couple years ago, and then he got blown out by Booth Dennis, which is going to lead me to something else in a little bit. So you figured that would be a good fight for Ortiz, not that dangerous of a fight, and he did as expected.
All right. And also, there was the controversy of Marlen Esparza not only losing her belt on the scale, but she also lost a split decision. So, Gabriela Celeste Alanis improves to 15-1 at flyweight. And Marlen Esparza goes to 14-2. They were talking about a super fight with her and Gabriela Fondora, sister of the guy that just won the other title. Her titles, possibly temporarily, because they're going to rematch, I believe. But anyway, then we had another knockout, and instead of the first round, we had the 9 of 10. The 9th round, Joseph Diaz fell to Oscar Duarte Jurado, proved to 27-2 with 1 draw. And Joseph Diaz, 33-6-1 now at super lightweight. That was really the only 2-star action last week worth talking about. This week, we got one tomorrow. Daniel Bailey, 13-1. Fighting Edward Vasquez, 15-2 at super featherweight. That's on DAZN from Houston. And we got some IBF and WBO World Light Flyweight titles on the line in Buenos Aires. Evelyn Nazarena Bermudez, 19-1-1. Fighting Jessica Basulto Salazar, 12-1. Those are female titles. And let's see. We got the big one. The big one. This one's going to be in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena on DAZN. Canelo. Saul Canelo Alvarez. He's got 60 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. Fighting James.
Yeah, I should be, if everything worked out correctly, getting ready to leave for the airport in about 6 hours. Fortunately, everything didn't work out. Yeah, you got.
Wow.
You'll
be there in spirit.
I know there's a problem with some of the Boeing planes.
Right.
Other than that, is there a problem with the airline right now?
Not yet. Not that I know of.
Okay, well, I'll tell you why. So, a couple years ago, it would be 5 years ago, because it was 5 years this weekend, I went out for the Canelo Danny Jacobs fight. We booked a flight back in April, or like early April, and I said, okay, 3 round-trip flights, fly out, Friday morning at 8 o'clock flight in the morning, and then fly home Monday morning, which would be like an 8 o'clock Vegas flight. Okay, no problem. The flights are like $500. So I was looking for the same thing. Fly out Friday morning, fly home Monday morning. Okay, I go into American, which is where I have all my advantage miles and all that bullshit, and I click on, okay, May 3rd to May 6th. Okay, pick your flight out. One round trip, yes. Pick your flight out. So I pick Monday morning, 8 o'clock a.m.-ish. It'll be, okay, so round trip will be $500 and some dollars. Okay? I click on that, pick your return flight home. And they had only one direct flight. Well, I had one direct flight. It was like 7 o'clock at night, would get you in Philly with a layover at like 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. What are they going to do, just drop me off at work? So I'm like, okay. So then I was like, then they had one direct flight at like 8 something in the morning for like $3,000.
Oh, Jesus. Well, it could be related to pilots.
Limited seats, but there was like, the whole plane was empty. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then the flight would disappear, then it would reappear, then it would be 1,000, then it would be 2,000, then it would be 4,000. I'm like, well, I'm not doing a layover, because these layovers would have like, it would be like 12 hours to get home. And it was more, and it was expensive. Like, instead of which makes no sense to me, instead of a $500 round trip to get 2 direct flights, it would be like, you get a flight with a layover, would be like 1,000, which made no sense.
We'll just wait around and see if you can fly on standby.
So, yeah. So I decided, so I ended up, I could have got the flight tickets, I ended up not booking them. By the way, work's been crazy. Anyway, I have a guy off tomorrow, and then I have off Wednesday, so I just couldn't have finagled it, even if I wanted to.
Well,
yeah, it sucks. But, I'm going to watch the fight at home. I wanted to go. It would have been fun to get out there. I mean, I don't know. I was going to ask you, Rich, because I didn't even have a chance to look at it, and I didn't see any postings about it. I don't know if they've done it since COVID. They fight fan conventions.
Fight fan conventions? Like Box Fan Expo?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, they're still doing that.
You got me the press pass the other year.
They're still doing that every September, pretty much.
Because the other year when they did it, it was in May.
Yeah.
It was when I went out for the Canelo Jacobs fight. Because I was going to buy the ticket, and you're like, no, dude, I'll get you a press pass. Okay. You're like, all the guy says is you have to do like a Fight News Unlimited 30-second promo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, they still send me press releases, so we'll hook it up if you want to go in September.
Okay, that makes sense if they're doing them in September.
September. Anyway, Saul is fighting, not Cinco de Mayo, but Saturday, the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you, as they say.
And then the next thing, you have Revenge of the 5th.
Star Wars. Anyway, so Saul coming in at 60-2 with 2 draws. Munguia 43-0. I don't think Munguia's faced the kind of level of opposition that Alvarez has.
He is not.
But he is undefeated. 34 of those 43 wins by knockout. And coming off a knockout against a guy named John Ryder. Not really a big name. But anyway, that's a 9th round knockout out of 12. And yeah, he's just fought some gamers over the years. Guys with pretty decent records. Knocked out Gary Spike O'Sullivan back in 2020 in the 11th round. Patrick Alati, that's a pretty big name. He knocked him out in the 4th, just before O'Sullivan. He's got some pretty decent opposition, but nothing at the level of this guy. But undefeated is undefeated, so you cannot count this guy out. I might throw $5 at him.
And I'll tell you, Munguia has a decision win over Gabe Rosado. And, it was near the end of the game. It might have been Gabe's last fight. And Munguia showed some very good versatility because he really outboxed Gabe, And, you think Munguia, and he's got a lot of knockouts. You figure, okay, here's a guy that he's like, a typical Mexican brawler. He's not. So this is going to be a good fight because Munguia is a little taller, got a little bit of a reach advantage, and he's versatile enough where he can box as well. Where Canelo over the years has shown the ability where he can box, he can slip punches. Because I remember early in his career, when I would write previews on him, I would say one of his liabilities would be his defense. He's turned that into an asset. Like his defense, just by using upper body movement, not even a lot of footwork, just upper body movement making guys miss, and then setting up counters. So I think you're going to see a very high intellect fight.
Yeah.
I believe it will go the distance. If it is a stoppage, because remember, we've never seen Munguia hurt. We've seen Canelo tested. We've seen Canelo get hit by guys that are big punchers like the Golovkins of the world. Danny Jacobs hit him with a monster left hook. Sergey Kovalev. These are some serious punchers. And the guy's never been down, never been really hurt. We don't know that about Munguia. It'll be interesting to see when things get into that deep water, how he reacts. It'll be interesting to see how good of a punch he takes. So I think it'll go the decision. I think it'll be more technical than people think, but it'll be a high skilled technical and high excitement technical. It's not going to be like a chess match where it's not an exciting fight. I think you're going to get an exciting technical fight, a lot of counter punching. But I think you're going to see Canelo's experience be the difference here.
Well, the first round for Munguia will be his 200th of his career. So, a lot of experience, but not as much as Saul. He's got 60 wins, 2 losses, none by knockout, by the way. So, he'd be the first guy to knock him out if Munguia can do it. Saul has 39 knockouts of his own. That's a 65% rate, but he has 484 rounds under his belts. Plural. So yeah, it's tough guy to overthrow and upset, but
and you remember,
it's
crazy to think now that he's into his 30s, that he was a professional at like 16 or something, down in Mexico.
Yeah.
You knew he had to be tough, growing up in Mexico with red hair.
64 fights, 484 rounds. Yikes. He's coming up on 500. Jeez. Won't get there this fight, but next one.
You wonder if Canelo's going to get old overnight with all that experience. That's the exciting. Yeah, exactly. That's the exciting part of this fight. I mean, I agree with you, Tony. It should be Canelo's fight to win, but you never know.
Then you're going to see Oscar De La Hoya is going to be running around the audience with a giant inflatable needle.
He really got whitewashed the second 2/3 of the fight.
Right. So that's going to be a 12-rounder. That's one of 4 12-rounders on this card for titles. Obviously, that's going to be the most titles on the line. But yeah, Munguia looking to go 44-0, undefeated. Alvarez has really only lost when he's faced the absolute best in the world. Can you consider this Munguia guy the best in the world? I don't know, but he could be if he pushes himself to the limit Saturday night. Could be. He's gonna lose his mind if he hears that in the news. But yeah, I think Tony's right. It's probably gonna go to decision. Alvarez never been stopped, but Munguia's capable. So we'll see. I'll throw a $5 at him. He's probably got positive odds enough to make it worth just a single bet. Just to see what happens. But anyway, other supporting bouts. We've got some of these 2 losses. Gonna have to go to 3 or 1 draw here. No draws for either one of these guys. We got Mario Barrios 28-2 and Fabian Andres Maidana 22-2. That's a welterweight fight for the WBC interim world welterweight title. Number 9 in the world versus number 48. Mario's number 9. So also Brandon Figueroa 24-1 with 1 draw, fighting Jesse Magdaleno 29-2 at featherweight for the WBC interim world featherweight title. And then somebody's always got to go at welterweight for the WBA world welterweight title. Gabriel Maestre 6-0-1 fighting Emantis Stanionis, who is 14-0. I don't know, that just seems like very low numbers for a 3-letter bear world title. But yeah, it is what it is. 6-0 versus 14-0. And you know, we got our biggest card of the week, so we got to have our Jesus fight of the week on there. We got a super welterweight Jesus fight. Jesus Alejandro Ramos Jr. 20-1 against Johan Gonzalez, who is number 46 ranked super welterweight in the world. Jesus is number 17. Johan has a record of 34-2 super welterweight, so that's going to be experience versus youth, I guess. We'll see how that goes for Jesus. And then another junior, Vito Mielnicki Jr., guy we've been posting stories about for years. He is 17-1 now, fighting Ronald Cruz, who is 19-3-1, ranked number 174 in the world. Toledo's 42. Good to see that. 42. Crazy. I remember when he first started. And then we actually have a pretty big fight on Monday in Tokyo. Naya Inoue, 26-0, fighting Luis Neri, 35-1. At super bantamweight at the Tokyo Dome. And that's for multiple alphabet soup titles here. IBF, WBA Super World Super Bantamweight title. WBC and WBO. Then we got the WBA World Flyweight title being fought between number 2 in the world and number 8. Taku Kuwahara, 8 in the world. 13-1, fighting Seigo Yuri Akui, who is 19-2-1. And we got Malarkey fighting in the UFC. Over in boxing, we got Maloney. Jason Maloney, 27-2, fighting Yoshiki Takei, who is 8-0. That's for the WBO World Bantamweight title. And TJ Doheny, number 16 in Super Bantamweight, 25-4, fighting Briel Bayogos, who is 7-0-1 at Super Bantamweight. And then just before next week's show, we got a single fight popping out at the White Sands Event Center. Sergey Lipinets, 17-3-1, fighting Robbie Davies Jr., 23-4 at super lightweight. It's a 10-rounder on Wednesday. All right. So now we have to talk about the UFC action last week. I did not expect the guy that lost 3 fights in a row to come out gangbusters like he did. And they impressed. The guy impressed so many people so quickly, he's already got another fight booked. Alex Perez. What a brilliant show of aggressiveness, patience. And that guy made Nicolau look like a slouch. Nicolau was a heavy favorite going in. I thought it was going to go longer than it did, but that's UFC on ESPN 55 out there in Vegas. Perez just dismantled him, little piece by piece, round by round, and then got the knockout in the second. And then I missed the round, but I got the right result in the co-main event. I thought Bogdan was going to get his first round knockout like he is so capable of. But he got the second round knockout, and Ryan's span has just been so up and down. But he just gives you chances. He was doing really good. I controlled the first round pretty well. But Guskov does what Guskov does. He unfortunately has the most horrible defense when he's getting aggressive. He comes in hands down, but he just has this supreme confidence that he's going to find your trigger. He is going to hit that button on your chin, on your temple, and he is going to knock you out. So he will lead with his face to get you to come in to that point. And he gets himself in trouble. But, boy, that slugfest ended in his favor the other night, and that was an impressive knockout. He just finds a way. And he did that night. But I'd like to see him generate a little bit of a defensive mindset in the future. If he wants the title like he thinks he can get it, gonna have to have a little bit more defense. Well, who knows? Anyway, Karine Silva did what she does and dominated Ariana Lipski. Got the unanimous decision win there for that. Jonata Deniz, again missing the first round, but knocked out Austin Lane. Nonetheless, that was kind of what I expected there. David Onama kind of got the upset over Jonathan Pierce. I thought Pierce was going to be way better prepared for this fight, but he just kind of got drowned in the deep water. Euros Medik came back from getting beaten up by a guy in this week's UFC fights. He got the first round knockout against Tim Means. And then Victor Henry bounced back from the kick in the nuts to beat Ronnie Yaya by TKO from head kick and punches. Saved it for the third round, 2 minutes and 36 seconds in. And if only I could predict third round finishes. Boy, you could make a lot of money on those parlays. The third rounds pay out the best. Usually, anyway. Unless a guy has like 24 fights and all 24 ended in the third round. Victor Henry, TKO'd. And Austin Hubbard getting a very hard-fought, unanimous decision in one of the ugliest fights I've ever watched on a UFC card with Michael Figlack. It just seemed like none of these guys wanted to win until the very third round, and then Hubbard kind of poured it on at the end and did enough, but these guys beat the crap out of each other. They were exhausted. And still, somehow Hubbard got the unanimous decision. And then Don'Tale Mays got the win over Kyle Machado. You talk about guys exhausting each other. Oh my God. They were throwing everything at each other in this heavyweight fight, and thought it was going to end a couple times, but Machado just did not have enough gas in the tank to pull the knockout off. And probably thought he was ahead on the scorecards, but Mays did just enough to get that win. And the rest is history. Ketlin Souza over Marnik Mann before that. That was a run-of-the-mill unanimous decision. Chris Padilla over James Lontop. Before that, got a rear naked choke submission in the first round. 4 minutes and 33 seconds in for Padilla. Ivana Petrovic got an arm triangle choke in the third over Nia Lang. That was 1:29 into the third. And then Benitez, I said he was going to win. He didn't. He lost by split decision, though. So, give me some credit. He could have won. One judge had him winning. Anyway, Maisha Tayyasire still kind of finding his way, but pulled off the win. There. And then the big Rio de Janeiro fight this weekend. A lot of Brazilian guys. You might be tempted to do a full-on Brazilian parlay. It's just all the hometown guys, home country guys. It's Jose Aldo. We got Kai Baralho, Alexander Pantoja. He lives in Florida, but he's from Brazil, so it's gonna be a big one. I don't know about the main event. I really can't figure out for the life of me, and I've been watching a lot of videos from predictions and previews, and a lot of other experts can't figure out how Usyk even got this title shot. If anybody in the division found out that all you had to do was beat up Matt Schnell to get a title shot, I mean, they'd be in the same position. But Usyk, he's just a few fights in, a year into his UFC career, and he's fighting for the title. Does he live up to his hype? I don't know. What's the Tom Patrick crystal ball say about Astro Boy? I think he's a little bit of an Australian nerd, but I think he's got pretty decent style. I just don't know if he's ready. How about you, Tom?
I like him.
To win, or just as a human being?
I mean, in the fight, yeah. I know it's a step up, but
well,
I gotta stand by it.
Pantoja, they call him the Cannibal. He has 18 stoppages to go with 27 wins, 9 decision wins. Never been stopped himself. All 5 of his losses by decision, and he hasn't lost in a couple years. But, I don't know how Usyk can overcome that kind of experience. But, I mean, he has supreme confidence. He's hurting his own training crew in the Embedded series. And he seems pretty relaxed and ready for this. He's envisioning himself with the belt and everything, and, But, I don't know. I just kind of think Pantoja's a little bit more in the zone right now. He's got the experience. He's been in 5-round fights. He's just come off 2 of them. Went to decisions.
You know, that division is hard to predict.
Yeah. Pantoja.
You know, I mean, I know DJ was the man for quite some time, but when Sununu upset him, and it just seems like it's volatile.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the title could definitely change hands. I mean, Usyk is definitely capable. And he kind of reminds me of a more two-dimensional fighter than some of the ones that have really dominated that division. Like if he could go in there and just pull off a flawless fight, he might be able to edge out a win. But somebody's going to knock him right off, like happened to Sean Strickland. It's going to be one of those situations. So there's going to be some turnover. But I don't know. I think Pantoja's got what it takes. And he's going to be fighting in front of a very friendly crowd. If Usyk does win, he might not get out of the arena. No, the Brazilians are great people. But anyway, Pantoja, I like him. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to finish Usyk. I don't know what kind of chin Usyk has. We haven't really seen him be in like that much of a battle. But I think Pantoja gets it done. And I think he's going to get it done in the distance. But I have been wrong before. He is also from Rio de Janeiro, so we shall see. But Usyk, if he wins, everybody does, who does pick him, that I've seen, has him winning by decision. So I don't know if he's got the the striking ability that he showed in his last fight. That's going to rise to the occasion against a guy like Pantoja, who can slug himself. And he is a huge Rocky movie fan, and he has a pit bull who does not like it when he leaves for his UFC trips. As soon as he starts packing, the pit bull gets all upset, and he lays down and sulks. And so yeah, Pantoja, there was a big part of the Embedded series devoted to his pit bull. And he even, at one point, said he wants to, come home with the title for his wife, his kid, and his dog. so I'm surprised.
That's important.
Surprised Tom would root for Steve Erceg when there's a dog involved on Pantoja's side. No, but they had a really cool clip of him skateboarding behind the dog on the leash. The dog was running and pulling him on the skateboard. That's how in tune they were. Like man and machine, but it was dog and machine. Florida sled dogging, I guess. Anyway, so yeah. Erceg, I don't know. Just don't know if he's ready yet. I think he's biting off more than he can chew. And Pantoja was funny when they met at the special spot for some pictures in Brazil. Pantoja, I think that was the first time they'd seen each other, like in person or something, because Pantoja was like, "Oh, I thought you'd be taller." He's like sizing him up already. But yeah, he's a huge Rocky movie fan, and he had a shirt on in the Embedded episodes with Apollo Creed versus Rocky on it. Made it look like from the 70s. I don't know where he got it from, but pretty cool. Pretty cool. So he is a Rocky fan. Confirmed. Then we have Jonathan Martinez and Jose Aldo. Now this one is interesting because I don't know what the UFC's problem is, but I don't know if Jose Aldo wanted this type of fight. But if it's the last fight on his contract and you don't think he's going to extend his contract, I don't understand why they wouldn't give him somebody that is just like, obviously he's going to kick this guy's ass. Who knows why they did it this way? But this guy Jonathan Martinez is coming off a win where he leg kicked a guy to death, and coming in against a guy that has done boxing for the last year. I just don't. I don't like it for Jose. Everybody's picking Jose to win. How can he not win? But Jonathan Martinez is the livest dog he could face in a comeback fight, coming off the shelf. So, good luck, Jose.
Yeah, and you wonder why Jose didn't get an easier touch. I guess when you're the former champion, it's hard to get easy matchups.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say easy, but, beatable. Champion. Easily beatable, like a friggin', I don't know, somebody. So Jonathan Martinez got the co-main event slot, and it's going to be, I think, going into the third round, this fight. And Jose is going to have to use every bit of his boxing skill to win this one, but he's also going to have to check a lot of leg kicks if Martinez does what he did in some of his recent wins. And then, nobody's giving Anthony Smith any credit in the next fight at light heavyweight. Anthony Smith been through some wars. They're very concerned about his health and his ability to keep going through these wars. He's 37-19. I don't know. Maybe he's going for 40 wins. He wants to hang in there. But he's still fighting, and he's still winning from time to time. But this time he's got the undefeated Vitor Petrino, and everybody likes him by knockout. Knockout or decision. Vitor Petrino. He has 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 3 decisions. Undefeated. Actually, he's been in the UFC almost half of his career, if you can count the contenders. fight. Six fights in the feeder leagues, and then he got the opportunity against Rodolfo Bellato, who is no slouch. Knocked him out in the second round in the Dana White's Contender Series in September of 2022. And he's just been mowing people down. Marcin Prachnio arm triangled him. Modestas Bukauskas knocked him out in the second round. Tyson Pedro, unanimous decision to him last March. Or this March. March 2nd. So yeah, he's an all-around heavyweight, or light heavyweight, which is hard to find. So I like him in this fight, but Smith could be that guy that's the big enough name to show him that there's levels to this game. So I would not put it past Anthony Smith to pull one out of his hat here, but I kind of agree that Petrino's got to be the favorite. And then we have Michel Pereira against Ihor Potieria. And Pereira just looked murderous in his last fight. I think that momentum continues. Potieria doesn't really pose much of a threat, I don't think. He just looks scary in there, Pereira. Potieria just recently lost to Bellato, the guy we were just talking about, back in December of last year. And it's just really doesn't have names against big guys except one old big guy, Mauricio Hua. One of his last fights, he knocked him out. But yeah, it's not really as impressive to me as Pereira's record. I think Potieria is going to need a miracle to win that one.
Yeah, Pereira, and he's got that reputation as such a capoeira guy, acrobatic showman. So, because people are going to tune in for that, just to see what kind of performance, what kind of crazy wheel kicks and stuff he can do. But I think he'll win this one. But at some point, you got to wonder if he's going to keep getting away with that stuff, because he's on a win streak.
Right.
So, see how it goes.
And then we got the submission artist, Paul Craig, coming all the way over from across the pond to fight Kai Baralho, the natural, they call him. He's 15-1, has not lost since his second fight in the sport, and has just been cruising through his UFC opponents since his Contender Series debut. He actually had back-to-back Contender Series, Week 5 and Week 8. Back in 2021, he got a unanimous decision first and then a first-round knockout. And he's beaten Armen Petrosian, Mahmoud Muradov, Michael Olashuk, and Absupian Magomedov. You're going places when you beat a Magomedov. Right? But Kai's a favorite, big favorite in this one. He's pretty well balanced too. He's got 4 knockouts, 4 submissions, 7 decisions. Paul Craig, probably more susceptible to the knockout than a submission, because he's the submission expert, but he can also TKO you. His last win came against Andre Muniz by elbows in the second round knockout. So he can do it, but I think he's more likely to submit you. Let's see, 3 of his last 5, 4 of his last 6 are submission wins. So, and he submitted pretty tough guys. Nikita Krylov, Jamal Hill. No, he TKO'd Jamal Hill. Mauricio Hua TKO'd him. I should say stoppages. Anyway. So Paul is capable. He's experienced, but he talked about how he's going to have a wall of sound, or negative sound, booing him in this fight. So I don't know how much of a factor that's going to be in the fight. But Kai is on a roll. He can also submit people. He does a lot of rear naked chokes, guillotine. He can do it all. So I like Kai by submission or decision in this one. Or actually, I should say TKO or decision. He's got more TKOs than submissions. But that's an interesting fight, you know. That could be a legendary war. We never know what kind of undercard we'll have sometimes. And then we got Jack Shore, 17-1. Not sure he's going to beat Joe Anderson Brito at featherweight, 16-3-1. That is going to be a battle. That's one I'm probably going to stay away from betting on. And then we got the big underdog, Carolina Kowalkiewicz. She's 16-7, fighting Yasmin Lucindo, who's 15-5 at strawweight. I think that's anyone's fight, too. That's a 50-50. And Kowalkiewicz is worth throwing some money at because she's like a plus 440 on this one, I think. For against the girl who's lost 5 fights, like, you know, I know Kowalkiewicz has lost 7, but she's just a very durable, tough fighter. You know, she just grinds out wins sometimes. So, you know, and strawweights usually don't have a lot of knockouts anyway. So, you know, goes to decision, she could get it. And then we got Elvis Brenner, not with an I, with an E. Elves, like the plural of elf. Elves Brenner, he is 16-3, fighting Mick Tibek Orobai. I was watching a preview show today, and I don't know if the guy thought it was pronounced that way or he just did it to be funny, but he wasn't laughing when he was saying it. This guy's first name, he's Orobai. He was calling him my titty back. My titty back, Orobai. He kept saying it over again. My titty back. But he is 12-1. Nothing to laugh at. And he's been mowing down people. Just made his UFC debut against the guy we were talking about earlier, Uros Medic, known for his knockouts. And Medic just wrestled the crap out of him and then neck cranked, submitted him. But he can also knock you out. So he's coming off 2 knockout wins to get into the UFC. And then had 3 of them before that. Then his last loss was in 2020. But this is a tough test for him. We'll see. Brenner by knockout or Orobai by decision is what I'm hearing from the experts so far. And then we got Gene Silva, 12-2 at featherweight, fighting William Gomis, who is 13-2. Silva's the favorite there, but Gomis has the puncher's chance on that one too. That one's going to be a close one according to the experts out there. And then Drakkar Klose and Joaquim Silva. Drakkar Klose predicted by a lot of guys to take this one. 14-2-1. Joaquim Silva 13-4 at lightweight. But some people say it's going to be close. It's going to be a close decision. Drakkar Klose. And then you can't have a good card without Joe Biden's favorite fighter. And this guy's name should be a test for if you have a Boston accent. Jamie Malarkey. You know, if you have a real Boston accent, you say Malarkey. He is 17-7, and Mauricio Huffy, I guess, because he's, I believe, Brazilian. Yeah, he's from Sao Paulo. 9 wins, all by knockout. just one loss back in 2019, also by knockout. But a lot of first-round knockouts and a third-round knockout to get into the UFC on the Contender Series. And Malarkey has a lot of UFC experience, but nobody's given him a chance in this fight. He is coming off his own first-round knockout loss. He's lost 2 out of 3 by knockout, so everybody's going Huffy by knockout. But I don't know. Malarkey probably could take him to a little bit deeper water than he's used to. I doubt it, but he could. He could. Anything's possible. Alright, and then flyweights Diona Barboza. She's 6-2. Fighting Ernesta Caracate. 5-0-1. Everybody's on Barboza on that one. And then one of the oldest guys in the UFC. Vince from Hell Purcell. He is 14-3. Fighting Ismail Bonfim, 19-4. Guess how old Vince is? Anyone? Old for UFC standards.
Gotta be pushing 40, huh?
41 and a half years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fighting a guy who's a lot younger. And
because he hasn't had a ton of fights either.
Right.
You know, so maybe he's youthful, 41 and a half.
Yeah, Bonfim is 28. He is coming off a loss, though, against Benoit St. Denis. A face crank submission in the first round. Vince, he only has 3 losses. 8 knockout wins, 6 decisions. And actually, his last win was against Austin Hubbard. His last fight, he lost to Mark O'Madsen. And then Gregor Gillespie got arm triangled by Gregor back in 2018. And then 2012.
What happened to Gregor Gillespie, I wonder?
Yeah,
boy, he just faded off. Just completely faded out of the picture.
And then he had the unfortunate experience of fighting at the Ultimate Fighter 16 finale and losing to Rustam Khabibov by suplex and punches 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the first. So no cheap dates in those losses. Gregor ended his career 14-1. And only lost to Kevin.
So he formally retired, I guess, huh?
I guess so. Well, he hasn't fought since 2021. Yeah, something happened.
Yeah, he lost to Kevin Lee, and that just seemed to derail everything. I think that was his last fight.
No, he fought one more and won. And that was it.
I mean, he really seemed to have great momentum, and well, you just wonder what happened, if it was something outside of the cage.
Man.
Well, life gets in the way.
And we got Alessandro Costa. He's a Mexican guy, but he's from Brazil. He trains in Mexico. Lives in Mexico, I should say. Trains in the United States. But he is 13-4. Coming in against a 9-2 Kevin Borjas. He actually lost to the main event fighter Steve Erceg last November. And Amir Albazi is the only other UFC fighter he's lost to. That was a knockout in the third. He went to decision with Erceg. You know, that's a pretty durable guy. And Borjas is also pretty new to the UFC. He's had one Contender Series fight and then a loss to Joshua Van by unanimous decision. So I think this one's pretty evenly matched, but I gotta go with Costa. He's fighting with he's training with some pretty big dogs for this one, and judging from the embedded episodes, he looks ready for this. I think he's gonna take this one. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I just go with money line. Borjas, if he wins, it's probably gonna be by knockout though. 8 of his 9 wins come by knockout, just one decision. But all of those knockouts are in the feeder league, so I don't know how good those guys are. Real obscure feeder leagues. So I guess that's it for that card. It's a pretty good UFC 301 card all around. I like it. I like, seeing Usyk believe in himself and thinking he's going to win the main event. But I can't picture the ridiculousness of how crazy against the odds that would be. In Brazil, the Australian gets it done. He believes in himself, though, and, Sean O'Malley has taught us that self-belief goes a very long way. And, of course, have the talent to go with it, but, there's just something about those fighters who just believe it is possible. You can make it happen. I don't know. Usyk, he kind of reminds me of, like, the Karate Kid. He's a very unlikely tough guy. So, I think he's going to be one of those type of guys that Pantoja might underestimate, and that's where you could be right, Tom, and Usyk could get the victory. He's a grinder too. Like, he's shown him doing a little training, and he's grappling well. I don't know how good his jiu-jitsu game is, but I don't know. I just like Pantoja because he's in his home country. He's got the belt. And like I also noticed in the embeddeds, these Brazilian guys are really pushing already before the fights even start for their bonus money. Bonus money goes a longer way in Brazil than it does in Australia, I think. But we'll see. I like Pantoja. That's just my preference. But Usyk has been put out there. Decision, most people think. So it's obviously a fight that the matchmakers did right. But Usyk is definitely, to me, too early for the party. He could be a champion down the line. I just don't think he's ready. But hey, that's why they have the fights. They don't listen to me. Alright. Anything else you guys got you want to throw in before we go?
Yeah, one more thing. I did say a little bit ago, we were talking, and we were talking about last weekend's one fight, and I mentioned the name Thomas Delorme, and I said, he had losses to Terrence Crawford and Jaron Ennis, Boots Ennis. And shortly before we got on the air, I got notification that Boots Ennis will be making a title defense at the Wells Fargo Center, home of the Sixers and the Flyers, in July.
Wow, man. Nice.
Yeah, I just found that out.
Wow. Good
Against
stuff.
who?
It is mandatory. I saw the name. I am not familiar with the guy, but I will send you the post that came up. I'll screenshot it for you.
Alrighty. Well, until next week, guess that's all for us. And before we go, I did want to mention Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul will be sanctioned as an official fight. We'll count on
With
their
2-minute rounds and
professional records.
14-ounce gloves. Come on. Jeez.
Thank you.
I thought that was weird. I don't know if there's ever been a sanctioned fight with 2-minute rounds outside of the amateurs.
So now you just have to wonder.
Is it
Is
on
this
a
a real
Native
fight?
American reservation? Is it sanctioned?
I mean, why the 2-minute rounds? 14-ounce gloves. Yeah. So hopefully there'll be such an uproar. I mean, I don't know if the fans are still going to fall for it, but I mean, I was so let down by that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fight, make it a fight. And I mean, I don't think Tyson would be opposed to smaller gloves if they're doing it to pick on old people. You know, make fun of old people. Well, you know, the guy's 58 years old. Come on. Well,
look, it just came up my thread. So, Jaron Ennis is fighting a guy, Crawley, Crowley. Let's see if I have more information. Let me look at my boy, Johnny, see what he's got on it. Let's see. Somebody, was it? I think he sent it to me in a message. Johnny Yorgie, here it comes. Jaron Ennis. Yeah, it says Crawley. He's 22-0 with 9 knockouts. He's mandatory contender, and I don't even see the thing with his first name. I'll have to look into that more. I'm like, oh, you never know with me.
Well then.
And that's all I got for tonight, gentlemen.
All right. Till next week. Thanks for stopping by.
Enjoy the fights.
See you guys.
Have a good one.